All right, before we get this episode started, after you watch this, if you enjoy it, please remember to subscribe, like, comment, and share. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video and my channel. A big thank you to you for that. Now, here's this week's episode. All right, hi you YouTubers. It's the second muskie outing of the Labor Day week. It's about 6:40, 6:45. We're going to do about a 2-hour muskie hunt on this lake here in northern Wisconsin in Oneida County. This is about a 220-acre lake. I've got a little milk run on this lake, a couple of spots where I've been lucky enough to catch some muskies. Biggest one out of this lake was a 48-incher back in, I believe it was 2009, 2007. It's been a while, but lake's been pretty good to me. So we're going to give it a shot here. We're going to hit the high percentage spots here on the milk run, and we just had a fish surface. And let's see what happens. So stick with us. Hopefully we'll show you a muskie today. Catching a trophy muskie at least a minimum of 40 inches in length or longer means making a commitment to focus on musky hunting sound fundamentals and putting in your time on the water. Sounds so simple, but it's not. Now, the truth of the matter is that muskie didn't get to be the size of a trophy muskie by being dumb. They lasted in an environment that, let's just say, a dog-eat-dog world, from the time of being a small fry to lasting long enough to survive the learning curve and become a selective predatory machine. Based on Wisconsin DNR data, a true trophy muskie in Wisconsin in the 40-inch to say 55-inch range, on average, is probably around 15 to 20 years old. And let's just say that during that 15 to 20 year lifespan, they've been around the block. Those muskies have the survival intelligence. It's because they know that you, the muskie hunter, exist and you provide a pain in the mouth for them. Now, the exception is that occasional large trophy specimen that hasn't learned all of its lessons yet. So you, as a muskie hunter, must think outside of the box to serve up a menu item presentation that tricks the most cautious freshwater predator to strike. And this, of course, is the wall hanger we all seek. Now, before we get back to RO360 team member Lee Rappin's evening muskie hunt, let's take a look at his thinking outside the box, as we had just mentioned, with a couple of his simple lure modifications. Number one is the red-orange color reef hog. The simple modification here is to add a bit of flash, as this jerkbait does a slow walk-the-dog style movement under the water. All that was done is to remove the rear treble hook and replace it with a twin-blade flash system. The muskies have seen this walk-the-dog pattern in various color schemes, but this added flash may be the subtle change that they had never seen before with this style of movement pattern, and it may turn out to be the trigger for a muskie strike. And number two is a black and tan color bait that the front part resembled the design on an old topwater lure called the jitterbug. But this bait was a thinking outside the box design already, because the back half of the lure had a tail action that was similar to that of the top raider. It had a spinning bladed tail that created a plopping noise on the surface when retrieved. It was a good idea, except the wide wobble from the cupped jitterbug blade on the front of the lure caused a wide disturbance in the water, creating a wake in a wide V pattern, which in turn failed to consistently turn the bladed tail to create the plopping sound. It would sort of just swing back and forth without rotating all the way around a lot of times. So I made a simple modification by removing the back half and replacing it with a bucktail that swings back and forth with a wider movement as an attractant. Again, hoping that the subtle change triggers a musky strike. Now that we checked out some of Lee's musky lure modifications to try to entice the muskies to bite, let's take a look at his selection of baits for tonight's musky hunt. As you can see, he has 3 rods rigged and ready to go. The first one has a blue and white Cisco colored bucktail and blade to use as a search bait, as there is a Cisco population present in this lake. The second one, another search bait, is a perch colored bucktail with a silver willow leaf blade to mimic the perch forage base available in this body of water. And finally, the third is a newly purchased rubber paddle tail swim bait in a perch color. This can be used as a comeback bait to a shy muskie that followed to the boat and turned off, or can be used as a search bait on break lines with deep water access. Anyways, that's the arsenal for tonight, so let's join Lee and his wife Sandy for tonight's muskie hunt. Now, as we link up with Lee and Sandy on the boat, he's in the final stages of this 2-hour muskie hunt. Now, he's used all 3 of his search lures looking for active muskies, but has come up empty so far. And with the sun setting well below the tree line, let's listen in on a tactical lure change, as it's now musky magic time. All right, it's time to change lures. I bought this swim dog for pitching in deeper water. I mean, we're in shallow, but this is a deep bay, and I threw it for a while. But now we're in here working weeds and some cabbage, shallow from the shoreline. So this baby's going off. We're going to my favorite topwater, the Booker Top Raider. We've caught everything from bass, walleye, northern, and muskie on this lure. If Sandy, my camera person, can zoom in on this side, can you see that? Mm-hmm. See how well used that is? See, this side's got an eye. It's missing, and you can see how well worn it is here. I use it a lot, so that is my go-to topwater lure. So, sun is setting in the tree line. It's what we like to call magic time for muskie. So, just wanted to explain what I was doing and why. So this shoreline has got some weed, wood, and we're going to work the top water here in the shadows. So stick with us. Maybe we'll make it happen. In fact, off that point, if you can see that pontoon boat in the background there, that was my last muskie on this lake with this lure in that corner, just coming to that point. So let's see if we can make it happen again. Stick with us. Hope we will show you a big muskie. As I worked the Top Raider around this bay's shoreline, which is littered with weed beds and down timber, I was fully concentrating on every single cast, watching for the telltale disturbance of a wake on the water behind the lure, signaling a musky follow. But as I focused intensely, none appeared. But then, as I reached the point at the end of the bay, Lady Luck, the musky gods, whatever you want to call it, looked down in my direction. Mother Nature provided a natural opportunity for this muskie hunter to utilize and try to turn this muskie hunt into a muskie catch. There was an injured, struggling fish on top of the water, and every once in a while it would splash and struggle, but it was far too weak in its attempt to submerge and swim down to access weed cover. Its struggling movements on the surface was sending out a signal that predator fish were receiving along their sensitive lateral lines. Hey, it was like ringing a dinner bell, and I was determined to take advantage of this natural situation.
He might be attracting a predator, and the predator just might take mine instead of him. But we're only going to throw a couple casts around them. We'll use a live struggling fish to try to target a predator into making a mistake and hitting my lure. But we can't sit here and do this forever either. A couple of casts, give it a try. Okay, it's that type of thinking outside the box that'll put muskies in the boat. You still got to be at the right place at the right time, but here's a golden opportunity. We've got a live struggling fish, so we're going to spend some time out of the top water, try to mimic that struggling fish and confuse a predator into taking our bait instead of that struggling fish. But like I said, I guarantee you, that fish will be eaten tonight at some time. You just got to be in the right spot at the right time. All right, a couple more casts, see if we can make it happen.
Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to take advantage of that injured fish to get any musky action tonight. And I headed back to the lake cabin to await the arrival of my nephew Steven and his girlfriend Justina for a few days and some musky hunting with them. The next morning dawned with cloud cover but dry, with Steven and Justina arriving late afternoon. We took the pontoon out after supper for an evening cruise around the lake.
I have my nephew and his girlfriend up here. There they are, Justina, and there's Steven. Sandy's back here, and we're on the lake trolling. We are targeting musky and lake trout are the species of choice, but really we'll take anything that bites, you know. So anyways, we're going to make a couple of passes here, maybe an hour, 45 minutes tops, and see what happens. I know the light's starting to get low, but I want to shoot a little bit anyways. Steven is casting off the front end. We're trolling maybe about a mile and a half an hour. Steven's got his reel here, if you can see it. It's tough to see, it's getting dark. There we go. He's out on that side with his shallower runner, and of course I'm out on this side with a deep runner on the lake side, the main side of the lake. So stick with us, we're trying.
Now, unfortunately, again, it was the fish of 10,000 casts that did not make an appearance tonight. We did view an extraordinary moonrise, and a little later, a clear stardust sky. Returning to the lake cabin, we sat out by a campfire where Steven hatched a plan for tomorrow's musky hunt. So, after the campfire died out, Steven and I sat down inside the lake cabin at the kitchen table, and Steven laid out his plan for tomorrow's musky hunt.
Alright, so the goal for us on this specific trip is to find a lake that isn't necessarily a huge trophy lake, but just an action lake, because we only have a half a day to fish, and I'm still trying to get my girlfriend her first muskie and have just a good day for action and check out some new water. So typically what I look for is a lake that's easy to break down within a half day, something that's going to be between 150 to 350 acres, 250-ish, just something that's not too small to where you're only going to get, you know, little pipsqueaks, but something that you're going to be able to maybe have a shot at 40 plus, you know, a trophy fish, as well as some action. And the way I do that is I will look for a lake in the county that we're fishing, and we just happen to be fishing Oneida County. And after I find a lake within that acreage, like that 150 to 350, then I'm gonna research those lakes and start breaking them down and seeing what the stocking reports have been in the last 10 to 15 years, and how often it's been stocked, what size fish were stocked, and what years were they doing it. Because I'm trying to look for, like I said, 10 to 15 years of consistent stocking. And if you take a lake that's been consistently stocked, that's easy to break down per the acreage, you should be able to run into some within 4 to 6 hours of half day of fishing for the average guy that's coming up here. So I'm going to screen record it too, so you guys can see exactly how I'm doing this on my phone as well, which is I'm going to corroborate all of the data just with this book and then also with my phone just to kind of verify.
So in reviewing the lakes, I've got this book called Wisconsin Muskellunge Waters by the Musky Club Alliance of Wisconsin, and this is old. I believe this is published in '96. But what we're looking for in here is, once we start looking for lakes, this is a breakdown of all the lakes in northern Wisconsin by lake size, the acreage, if it's a class A, B, or C lake for muskie. But at any rate, this book was published. It's a nice reference guide, and this is what we're using to break down the lake sizes.
So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the DNR website here, and I'm going to hit find a lake. They just updated their website, which is great. I don't know if many people know this yet, but you can search by county and fish species now. So it saves you a lot of time. So I went to the DNR website, I just hit find a lake. I'm going to go hit the fish I want, which is muskie. And then I'm going to go to destinations. We're in northern Wisconsin. Alright, and now you're going to see a bunch of different counties. Since I'm in Oneida, I'm going to tap that button. And here you can see a bunch of different lakes that are in this county. And you can just keep scrolling down. Big Fork, Big Lake, all these different lakes that hold muskie. This one piqued my interest because the acreage and the max depth too can kind of play a role. There's just less water to break down when it's a shallower lake, so this lake has a max depth of 34 feet, which is good. Just easier to break down. And now, since I found the size of lake I want, I'm curious because now I need to go and see if there's good stocking on that lake. So now I'm going to go to the fish stocking data from the Wisconsin DNR, and now we're going to go to the stocking database. Click on that. Alright, and here again you have a bunch of different parameters that you can search to narrow down your search. So stocking year, we're just going to do all species, obviously. We're going to scroll down to muskellunge. County, Oneida. LMN, there we are. Water body names. So I'm going to pick the lake that I just can't say it, but we'll show you the data through the search. Now I'm going to hit search, and now it's going to populate this. Alright, here we go. Here you can see we have decent stocking, so from like 2010, 2014, 2015, 2017, before that, 2007, 05. This lake has consistent stocking going back all the way to 2003. Every other year from like basically 2003 they're putting in, and then you can see how big they were over here on the DNR's website, as well as the number of fish they put in. Yeah, you can see like the strain of muskie that are going in there. What drew me to this lake was the consistent stocking from 2003 up until almost present day. So 2017 was the last year they stocked it. and it shows like, you know, when the DNR stocked it, or they can be private stocking efforts as well. So I see consistent stocking from 2003 up to 2017. So every other year they're putting fish in this lake. So that's great. That means there's going to be numbers in this lake, and chances are you're going to run into some just for the sheer amount of numbers they're putting in. The longer the fish, the better the odds are of survival when they go into the lake. So that is also what's kind of drawing me here. They're not putting in fingerlings, they're putting in, I believe, let me just look, yep, 13-inch, 12-inch fish. So those fish are going to have a way better survival rate. So this lake seems like it's going to be great, or at least we're going to have a shot at one when we go there. But those are the parameters and kind of how I'm looking for a new lake in a new area, and like what I'm looking for data-wise. Obviously, everybody's going to go look at the maps and stuff like that, and we all know that. But again, it's within 30 minutes of where we are currently. It's got good stockings since the last 20 years-ish, and it's also that smaller acreage, and you know, I think the average depth was like, or like the deepest it gets is 26 feet. So it's going to be easy to break down because there's only 150 to 350 acres if you're sticking with that. It's what I do. And you'll, again, with the consistent stocking numbers, I've found that it's added to my catch rates and success rates. Just overall, I'm not biting off too much. I'm just going for a lake that I know there's fish in it, and we can manage it within 4 to 6 hours and break it down. As well, you know, now I'm going to go look at the maps and try to break down some key spots that I think we're going to hit first thing tomorrow morning. And yep, and then after that, I mean, you can use these parameters too to break down lakes. If you're looking for trophies, you can go look, you know, at some of these deeper, clearer lakes, or pretty much whatever kind of search parameters you want to put in there for, you know, your fish. And the pike netting studies, you can all do that through the DNR's website too. And it's easier than ever to go find what you're looking for now, and waste way less time, and you know, have some confidence in where you're going, at least see some data. So hopefully that helps.
Now, as Steven mentioned, let's take a look at some maps of our selected target lake. Besides the Wisconsin DNR's website, another valuable resource for lake maps and additional lake data are booklets by Sportsman's Connection. They offer a wide range of detailed maps and data for the entire state of Wisconsin. Now, this particular booklet is for the northern Wisconsin counties of Oneida, Forest, Lincoln, and Langlade. And as you can see, they provide contour maps and detailed info about some of the lakes in these counties. So, let's take a look at what info was available for our target lake for tomorrow's muskie hunt. This is a 156-acre lake in Oneida County, and about a half-hour to 40-minute drive from the lake cabin. Now you can see the contour map definition of the lake with the following lake facts. The shoreline is 2.4 miles long, and the max depth in the lake is at 28 feet. The water color is clear, and it is a seepage-style lake. Now, game fish present are largemouth bass and muskie, while the forage fish base consists of black crappie, bluegill, pumpkin seed, perch, bullhead, and white suckers. Now let's take a look at a slightly more detailed lake map from the DNR website. Their map also shows all the depth contours, but it goes a step further, breaking down the lake bottom areas of gravel, sand, and muck areas. Plus, it shows areas of larger submerged logs and stumps from downed trees and brush and sapling submerged growth. And also shows weed growth areas of lily pads and submerged weed beds. All great info for the musky hunter. Now I color-coded the entire lake map showing those area locations of weeds and wood. These highlights enhance the map so you can decipher those areas at a glance. Next, let's take a look at our picks for the hot spots on this lake. The number one spot is the west point. That shows a quick drop from 10 feet to the 28-foot mark. This spot also has some submerged timber and weed beds, and an ideal spot for a muskie to pop up into the shallows along the submerged weeds and timber for a quick meal as it passes by, then retreat down the drop-off to the 28-foot depth as a sanctuary area. The number two spot is on the east side point. Although this drop-off is not as pronounced as our number one spot, it does drop off more gradually to a 10 to 20-foot depth. And it does have the submerged weed growth and timber with surface lily pads as additional cover. The number three spot is the northeast point. It's ranked third because of the lack of deep water availability and no weed growth either submerged or on the surface. Only a little submerged timber as compared to our number one and number two spot. And our last prime spot is the L-shaped 28-foot trench. This might hold some muskies that are chasing suspended baitfish. Now with the 2.4-mile shoreline and only 156 acres of water, we should be able to cover this lake and in a relatively short period of time encounter some muskies. I took one last stroll outside before heading off to bed. Looking up at the sky at an almost full moon, I marveled at the detail that the moon's surface was showing us. And I realized the same meticulous detail of a plan Steven put together for tomorrow's muskie hunt. It was almost like an omen. The next morning, we were on the road by 8:45, finally taking the last left-hand curve that led us to the lake's launch. And by 9:30 a.m., the boat trailer was empty and we were on the water hunting muskie. Our first order of business was to spend about 45 minutes cruising the lake and checking our depth finder and looking over the surface area to confirm our map data. Plus, we're going to try to see where current fish may be holding.
Morning all you YouTubers. Today we've picked out a smaller lake, about 155 acres. We checked stocking info. The lake is stocked with muskies. It's a smaller lake, so we're hoping we get some contact, not a lot of area for them to hide. So hopefully we make some contact on some muskies. They've been stocked every other year on a regular basis. We're just taking a slow ride around the lake to start, check things out a little bit, and pick out some hot spots to try casting.
Now we're passing the west point, which is our number one spot. And we're passing through the drop-off area in 19 to 23 feet of water. Check this out on my depth finder. The fish are stacked up in this area. They're on the step slope between the shallows and the 28-foot trench, which they just might be at the area of the thermocline.
All right, we're done with that pass through the lake. Fish are stacked up there quite a bit. We've got a basic game plan set up and we're going to start fishing. So, hey, stick with us and hopefully we show you some muskies this morning. So we've got Justina, my nephew's girlfriend, pitching off the back. Steven's pitching off the front, my nephew Steven. And I'll be pitching out of the middle of the boat shortly. And I'm going to throw, you can see here, I'm going to try to mimic a walleye. They do stock walleye in here, along with, Steven said, crappie and, of course, muskie. All right, I'm going to have at it. Enough chitter chat out of me. Time to start casting.
For the next approximately 45 minutes to an hour, we methodically worked this western shoreline all the way around this large bay area. Now you can see some of the lake terrain we carefully picked apart with the three of us casting in all directions and into all the nooks and crannies of any openings we could get our baits into. Finally, as we worked our way back east and headed up towards the north, past that island, Steven cast his black and orange bucktail into this small opening in the lily pads, because he spotted some submerged timber there also. The water exploded, Steven got a solid hook set, and pandemonium erupted on the boat. While Steven battled the muskie, I got the net. Meanwhile, Justina had a little trouble getting the video camera going. As this was her first live boat-side encounter with a muskie, she was excited and nervous. I got the net ready, and Steven guided his muskie into the net. Once it was secured in the net, we took a sigh of relief and got the video camera rolling and got our pictures.
Okay, we got record going. There's a little REC going.
So you have to let go.
I got the net, the handle. Don't worry about the net, just worry about the fish.
All right. There he goes.
There we go. Oh, you got it. They get a little calmer when they're belly up.
You got my phone? I like a 35, 36. Super thick though. Good.
You wanted that one.
After looking at these photos later and closely studying and comparing them to previous photos of muskie catches, Steven and I came to the consensus that this was, at a minimum, an honest 37-inch muskie. Hey, nice work, Steven. Congratulations on putting together a musky hunting plan for brand new waters and then executing that plan. Well done.
Feel free to comment below, or if you don't want to comment in the public eye, we can also be reached at rappingoutdoors360@gmail.com. Now, if you know somebody you think might enjoy this video series, please feel free to go ahead and share this video or this link with your friend. And as always, whether you fish or hunt, remember, practice CCR. Catch, conserve, replenish. Make sure that that resource is available for future generations. See you next time, guys. You wanted that one.